White. I'm from Ad Astra Infant School in Poole. We're part of the Teach Trust, so there's 4 schools, all of which are have been on the United Against Bullying programme and have previously been on the Anti-Bullying Alliance programmes, and have achieved a mix of gold and silver, which all really happy about. And what's quite successful about that is we work across the 4 schools quite closely, and because we're all working towards that same goal, it's been quite a sort of whole sort of trust approach, which has been really useful. Our particular school in Ad Astra has quite a high level of SEN. We have about 24% SEN. We have quite a lot of young carers, and the catchment area has a mix of children, quite a lot of which are from quite deprived areas. So the new part of the United Against Bullying programme focused a lot on at-risk groups, which was really useful, I think, to have that focus this year, particularly for our school where it does impact a lot of children. We are only an infant school, so it's reception to year 2. So a lot of things we put in place have to be thought about quite carefully, so that things like when we've had ambassadors, we've had to think quite carefully how we do that, because the children are young, but they have really adopted it and really enjoyed sort of having that anti-bullying approach. As we have previously been in the programme, it was kind of keep us accountable. I think by doing it, it was noticed in previous years that actually by doing the audit, looking for all those areas across the whole school, it makes you really keep on top of it and make sure you are considering bullying across all areas of the curriculum. We also felt that it really helps the questionnaires help with pupil voice, and I know that's been a thread that everyone so far has mentioned. Pupil voice is such a huge thing that we've tried to really make sure that we are listening to the children and trying to reach all children, this at-risk group, all children across the school, and making sure we are hearing their views and making changes to the school based on what they have fed to us, rather than just our kind of impression of what's going on. The particular case study I thought would be useful, as that was a new part of the programme this year, was the case study. So we did a few different case studies about our different ambassadors. We've got rights respecting ambassadors, the rights respecting school. We have friendship ambassadors. We have wellbeing ambassadors, and we set up a new thing, which was the focus of this particular case study I'm going to talk about, which was our support group. So we noticed from the questionnaires that the children who gave back the consent forms were lots and lots of children, but not necessarily the children that maybe we wanted to hear more of their voice from. Lots of our at-risk children didn't return the consent forms, and so we weren't able to include them in the sort of official questionnaires, and we knew that that was really important to get their voice and hear from them, and know those questions that were in the questionnaire, what their views were on those things. So we set up a support group that was first kind of started from the teachers. So we sent out, we asked the teachers, who do they feel has either anxieties around school, struggles to come into schools, particularly children we would know really struggle to come in the mornings, any children who struggle on the playground, both either where we have concerns that maybe they're being impacted by bullying or unkind behaviour, but also the children that maybe struggle to be kind to other children, struggle to play with the children, and those children that might end up leading into sort of more bullying type behaviours. And we wanted that to be a mix of those children, because actually the children who maybe are displaying bullying behaviours are often, there's always a reason behind it, and they also need that support to kind of help to know what the areas that they are struggling with to reduce that, and to try and stop that at this early point in an infant school. So the support group consists of us meeting every other week, and we would discuss, we started by doing the questions in the questionnaire, and we talked about them and did it more as an open sort of discussion and more informal, but we talked about those different areas, and quite a lot of them said that they felt unsafe on the playground, they weren't sure how to do lots of different types of playing, there was things they worried about being told off, And then they mentioned things about home as well. So we took some of those key areas, and we would start by discussing what's sort of gone well this week, what have you enjoyed over the last couple of weeks, what has been a concern over the last couple of weeks. And we would have that time to discuss those things, and then we would focus on a particular area. So it could be something like we would focus on rough play on the playground, areas of the playground that we feel are maybe feel a little bit unsafe. We focused on speaking to our teachers, all these different areas where I would give them sort of ideas of things to help them, but also hear what they were saying and make sure they knew that we would be then discussing with their teacher or taking what they've said forward and making changes. And at the end of that, we did the questionnaire again, which led to lots of a much more positive sort of outcome from these children, and lots more changes took place in the school from that. I think a big part of it was knowing that you might not reach all the children you want to from the questionnaire, so just to really try and reach out to as many children as possible and to hear their voice. So it was really beneficial. We made a lot of changes. We ended up creating zones in the playground for areas where there was structured activities, because that was an issue that seemed to come up quite a lot, that they were saying there was a lot of rough play, that children were being quite unkind to one another. I think largely due to them not really knowing how to play due to COVID and being an infant school. They didn't really know how to, so we set up zones. We identified areas of the playground where the children felt more unsafe or were kept being brought up as an area where they said, oh, I don't like it when I go through this part. So we made sure that there were staff in those areas. We also linked them up with our friendship ambassadors, as that helped for them to create a community between them, and for the friendship ambassador to know kind of who to look out for. And it also really helped to just create a group of children who were all aware that they found things tricky, both in the sense, some of them because they're very anxious about coming to school or struggled on the playground because they couldn't make friends, and some children who were struggling on the playground because they were maybe being a little bit unkind to other children. And actually, by bringing them together, they had that understanding of each other, and that really reduced kind of the conflicts that we were seeing before that. I think get your questionnaires done as soon as possible is really helpful, and then you can work from that to set up that group. There needs to be a whole school approach. I think that is run through again all of the schools that have spoken previously. If you haven't got everyone on board, it's very tricky to put things in place. And I'm not a member of SLT, so that was a big part of it for me. We needed everyone on board because there weren't changes that I could often make. There were changes that I would need to feed onto other people, and they would need to make. And also to document what you've been doing, because I think that's why at the beginning I didn't document it as much, and then I realized that this needs to be documented, and this year we're making it. I'm working with the Senko to make it into an actual sort of properly documented intervention for children who are struggling in school. So that's the kind of next step, and I think with it properly noted down, it will really be evident then of areas which children need that support, and who has accessed that and who maybe is still in need of having that extra support.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Tess. That was fantastic. I'm going to hand back over to Livy.
It wasn't. Thank you so much, Tess. Really appreciate that. It was really useful.